Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Holistic Health Hub. I am here with my amazing panel. And who wants to go first in introductions?
I'm Harry, the learning difficulty expert from down under in Canberra.
Hi, Harry.
And I'm Sally, holistically fit specialist in Melbourne. Hello.
And I'm Shauna, I'm a naturopathic doctor in Toronto in Canada. So today's topic is schooling for success. And the reason that we've come up with this today is partly, sourced through me. It's report card time here in Canada. And it's come up, it's brought up a few issues for me after meeting with my son's teacher and looking at how is the best way to support a child's schooling, and bigger picture, like what kind of implications does this have on life? Because, we're often thrown into situations in school that are not the best fit, and what are the implications down the road? So that's where we're going to jump in, and who'd like to go next?
Well, schooling and school experience can have a profound impact on both your child's enjoyment before they become an adult and then when they're an adult. Now, I've got a younger brother and he's very bright, he's very determined. He got the university medal in Sydney for his master's. He got a PhD. He consults with governments about the rule of law. And yet, when I asked him whether he laid his ghost about his difficult experience at school with his PhD, he said, no, I will never lay it. So for him, failing at school and being told he wasn't trying hard enough is a sword that hangs over him his whole life. So he works so hard. And that's underneath it, built in his limbic system. It's so school experience, happy school times are really powerful. Yeah.
Are there many people, though, that have come away from school unscathed in some way? I'm not sure there are many people who've done that. I know when I was in high school, you guys sort of have a different system, but I was bullied in high school. But I remember the person and I remember her name, but that's all I remember. But, I didn't do particularly well in school. I mean, I passed my grades. I mean, I went back to university as a mature student, and now I think I'm excelling, but it's taken me a long time to get there. But whether that was due to what I experienced in school, I don't know. I don't know if many people come away unscathed.
We were saying before that every school has its own personality, if you like, and different kids align with different types of schools. And I was saying before, it's not uncommon for kids in the same family to go to different schools because it aligns up with their different or compatibility with different schools, with different things that they offer, or the vibe that's there. Some are sort of very educational on, doing the maths, the science, and you just boom through and you just churn it out. Whereas some other schools are more humanities focused and more with the drama and the artistic side and really nurturing and bringing that out for the kids. So, it's very influential when you're a kid, particularly in primary school, throughout all of your life. As you say, we've all got sort of memories that have scarred us, if you like, going through. So it's about providing the best opportunities for the kids and aligning them with schools that work for them, but also teaching the kids bits that can help them, like resilience or, that's becoming bigger in the schools. Being able to stand up on your own 2 feet, sort of have thick skin, deal with stuff that comes with you and learn how to process it and deal with it accordingly so that you can get over it. It doesn't stress you out. You don't go and hide. And, bullying we've talked about before, that's another thing that can really affect you at school. So I don't know, every school's different and, it's very difficult understanding how your kid's fitting in until sometimes it might be just parent-teacher interviews and then the truth will come out because, last year they did really well, but then this year they've got a teacher that they just don't align with, and so their grades drop down, they become withdrawn, their behaviour changes, that sort of thing. And as a parent, it's so upsetting to see kids that have been thriving and then not thriving, or the other way around. It's fantastic when you see them come out of their shell. I know out of my 4, the youngest didn't come out of his shell until grade 6. He just hadn't found a fit with school. He found a teacher that really worked with him. And also my kids have always been a bit younger in the year level, so that's always been a little bit daunting for them. And their confidence wasn't quite up with some of the older kids. And that's another thing. In all my kids' school years, there's at least 2 years age difference between each kid within the class. So one might be 10, another one's 12. And that, I think, affects the dynamics within the class as well and for kids.
Now, Sally, did all your children go to the same school?
From kindy, 3-year-old, right through to grade 6, yeah.
Right, because
they all had different experiences, yeah.
Yeah, we all have more than one child. And I think sometimes, sort of as we're talking, I'm thinking that we all know that we're all individuals. So if your children go to the same school, particularly my boys, they're one grade apart, that school can't possibly have the same effect on both of them because they're both extreme individuals.
Except that the school experience is centered around the classroom.
It's all very linear, isn't it? Do it this way and there is no other way.
Well, one teacher, if you've got multiple streams in a school, one teacher will have one characteristic and another will be very different. So, I encourage parents to go with their children to the schools to shop for a school, and I encourage them to engage the child in the process because, a Catholic school, for example, in Australia with much stronger structure and stronger rules will suit one child and will demoralize another, whereas Montessori or Steiner will, with a much looser framework, will suit a child that needs to flower and is sensitive but doesn't need the structure. So I think it's really important to be sensitive to the characteristics in a child and pick a school accordingly and allow the child to participate in that process.
But do you have, what do we call it, Shauna? We call it not captive zones. What's it called? And you're in the right captive area. You have to, is it the same? Like you have to be in the right captive area to get into that school unless you're paying
into a government school. Yes.
I mean, like zoned in the right zones, go to the schools. And that's another issue too. Applicable schools in your area. It's very difficult in Melbourne, for example, and I'm not sure what it's like in your area, but people move to get into the zone for the good school. And it's a really big deal, particularly, and also with private schools here, there's too many boys. And so it's very, very difficult to get into your schools for senior school. And you have to literally have your birth certificate in as soon as you've got it and pop it in. And it's a first in, first served. And then if you pay more, and then if you're more academic, you get up the list and, it's very difficult. So in my case, my boys didn't have an option. It was whatever school they could get into, if you like. Whereas my daughter, there was many more options. So we shopped around and she went to the school that aligned with her. Best thing ever, because she felt the vibe, she connected with them, and she's just flourishing, absolutely. Yeah.
Shauna, I wanted to ask you, because you talked to me about this a little bit, about homeschooling. Now, asked me a couple of years ago and I would have been like, oh my gosh, I'd love to homeschool. But now I'm like, I would not have patience. I would think, what would I do all day? But I can see the wonderful merits that homeschooling can have, because who knows the child better than you? I don't know if you've, sort of looked into that or have any more insight on that.
Yeah, I mean, some of it depends. I mean, yes, I agree that the relationship with a parent can be amazing, but at the same time, I'm not a trained teacher and it's not much of my skill set. So the part of it that appeals to me a lot is the experiential based learning, the being able to actually go out in the world and learn things and absorb and learn in that way, because that seems to be the way that my child learns best. If he's engaged in something, he's phenomenally brilliant and remembers everything. Yeah. And if he basically, his teacher describes it as if he doesn't buy into it, it's like he's not there. So we're looking at, how do we work with this? So I get torn with it, because there's a part of me that thinks that the building resilience is really, really important, as well as, teaching kids how to cope with whichever situations that they're in, rather than giving them special situations to succeed. So that's the part where I get, a bit split, right? He's not always going to have a fantastic teacher, and this is an opportunity to build resilience in an environment where he's going to have to learn in a different way that doesn't suit him best. So
that's a very good point. Yeah, it's a very good point.
And you have much more social exposure at school, which is one of the challenges of homeschooling, isolation. Yeah.
Yeah, because it does have that wonderful feel about it that you're nurturing this person to be this well-rounded individual when they grow up. And you're right, Shauna, you can go outings or just in the garden and do things, whereas in school you don't have that freedom. But as Harry says, you have that social aspect, and then it's a question of facing problems and finding solutions. So yeah, that's a tough decision, I think, for a lot of people.
And can I just say, in the senior years, because of the way the world is changing with jobs and whatever, kids are being taught to how to adapt in different environments, because traditionally you just go to school, then you go to uni, and then you get your job and possibly stay there for a long time. But these days, there's at least 7 or 8 career changes they're going to have. So the skills that kids are being taught to develop are adaptive ones, so that they have skills that can move from completely different areas and adapt in. And that's what they're teaching in the secondary schools now. And I think it's really important. So, even coming back to the junior levels, some areas you mightn't sort of align with, but then you can find ways to fit in as well. So I don't know, it's an interesting topic, because it's very it's really important with the changing way of the world, and we can't wrap our kids up too much in cotton wool, and sometimes they do have to toughen up, but at the same time they're still kids, so they still need that nurturing. So once again, it's coming back to balance, which is what we talk about every week, balance in everything.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that the skills that we have, it will somehow morph into them. I mean, it will anyway, right? They absorb it. But that, they're the sort of, I don't want to say luckier ones, but they're the ones who are potentially gaining a lot more because of the world that we live in, the holistic world that we live in. Sorry, Harry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's good what you said, because my dad was a teacher, and he said actually what went on at home was more important than whatever went on at school. So you set that framework, your culture at home. In terms of building kids' strengths, one of the books that I came across last year, which I'm very excited about, is a book called The Strength Switch by a professor at Melbourne Uni, and she's called Leah Waters, and she had a struggle about, rather than focusing on the negatives and the failures in her kids, she turned that around to focus on the strengths and what they were doing right. And I think that's a cultural challenge for us all. So I commend that book to you and to those that are watching, for parents. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Sean and I have sons who are the same age, so it is, when you get that report card, it is like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And you want to fix it. And then it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And because you wonder if you're, damaging the child or, not helping them live their full potential. And, this is, I'm kind of going through it with Maxwell as well. Like one's 9, one's 10. So there really isn't that much age difference. So I'm really kind of going through it with all of them. So this is all kind of new to me, all this getting report cards and all this stuff. I actually think, is it actually individual, or does the teacher sort of have a script that they write and they just tweak it a little bit?
They have scripts. They don't have time.
Right. I was going to say 30 odd students, they wouldn't have.
Yeah. And it's hilarious.
I'm sorry, Shauna, what did you say?
Oh, ours had some good comments on it. They were direct.
Right.
Okay. I've had several reports where, say, my kid's name is Jack, and it will say Bobby did this, and then so I've got names all mixed up because I just cut and paste in, and so in some reports it will have several kids' names in it because I've cut and pasted different bits out of it all. So I feel for the teachers because they are under a lot of pressure, and honestly, it's just blanket boom, boom, boom for a lot of my kids.
Shauna, can you share any of the comments that really hit you in the heart?
That's a good point. It was, I guess the comment that he was not paying attention when other students were talking, and not valuing other people's opinions, which didn't seem right to me, knowing my own child. So it made me want to dig deeper. Yeah. I mean, basically, I 100% agree with what you said, Harry, about focusing on the strengths. It's just, for me, the finding where the balance is of, I do celebrate his strengths a lot because he's a complicated learner. But knowing when is it a good idea to persevere and just support the resilience, and when do you pull the plug to create a more supportive environment. So doing a little bit of research in alternate school options for next year to see if we can switch it around. Because, sometimes, they're not linear learners who fit into the conventional mold. And, you know that they can succeed and excel, but not quite sure how to get there.
And that's actually a really good wrap up for our panel today, because maybe we could get the listeners and the watchers to send their comments. What's their experience? Do they have any, solutions, suggestions, have been through the same thing, or homeschool, or, go the conventional route? So that was a great ending to it. Thank you, Shauna. Good segue. Okay, guys, make sure that you are liking this. You can share it, leave us a comment. That would be great. Your experiences with the school system. If you have children, we'd love to know. And we will see you next week.
Terrific.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.